Friday morning, I get to meet the men at Panera Posse, where we round up the bad guys and put the money back in the bank. That is at Panera Bread Store in Hickson. Every Friday morning at 6:30. I'm there religiously, you could say. I've always been invited, and I return to imbibe a bit of coffee, a cup or two of coffee, and have my blueberry bagel, very well done with 3 butters, served up on my plastic plate. And it's always good conversation, and we get to hear about the lives of others, and whether it's the man who is losing his bonus because of lack of work coming in from his contractor, a man who does all this work in his house office, to the other man, the engineer, who is looking at increasing his work for the city, and others. Quite a few of them are homeschool dads. But that is what we do. Sometimes very lofty conversations, other times sort of earthy, personal discussions about how our lives are going. And I look forward to that, because that is a kind of a social interaction. And I like to interact with people. I love, in fact, being a salesman. That's what I do for Nooga Radio, is in sales. And I get to meet many, many, many people. And sometimes, 10 or 15 a day, if I have a good afternoon after lunch, and making inquiries about their businesses, and trying to find out if I can help their business by having reference to them here from our microphone to you, our listener, whom we encourage always to patronize our advertisers. That is how radio works. You are encouraged to buy a car or buy a sandwich or obtain a mortgage, if you need that, from someone who's here sponsoring our shows, getting their names out to you, whether it's Chattanooga Paint and Decorating with its offer of $10 off per can. That's going to be going on for a couple more weeks. A great offer to others who are there to serve you. My name is David Tulis, and we're here at 92.7 FM and AM 1240, and we focus on local economy and the free market. And there are questions about the free market that we are wanting to ask today. And one touches on Airbnb and the vote June the 13th on whether to put whether to have a map control the discourse, to have a map which of course dictates the terms of the treaty, right? The map that is proposed by City Council member Chip Henderson, whether that map shall control what is the new economy, as some have been calling it for the past 15 years, the digital economy, the sharing economy that is bringing, in many ways, an irresistible power of decentralization into the marketplace, and setting aside legacy systems such as municipal government, which is trapped by its other commitments in legacy models, say, of education, right? We have county schools, which are not only morally bankrupt, but economically bankrupt as well. They charge $9,000 to $10,000 to have a student there for free per year, and the actual cost of education it can be had almost for free. I mean, there's so many things that are free. If you can print things out, you can watch things, very inexpensive. You just have to have knowledge and inspiration. And I make note just here, by the way, of the rise of the tutorial. And in fact, we'll be chatting with Lori Stevens, who is a young woman. She's 33 years old, and has started Chattanooga School of Language. Again, it's a tutorial. There are many of them cropping up all around the homeschool. It's a development out of the homeschool marketplace in educational services, where homeschooling is sort of self-serve, and at the other end of the spectrum, you have public school, which is taxpayer served. The client being not the family, but the state itself. And so Airbnb faces an effort to corral its paradigm in the map of the city, which is a geographical imprisonment, if you will. And here that company, a very large company, allowing private rentals from homes and serving travelers, worldwide travelers. Is it going to be stuck in the map, the regional planning agency type map, the Mr. Bridger sort of a control mechanism that we've had way too much of. And I don't need to complain about that, but I say that with a slight air of grumbling. I guess you noticed that. And but I make it just as an observation. I intend it to be as an observation, and leave it to you to decide whether we've had enough. Have we had enough of what we've had for such a long time? The big news, I think, is the resignation, the pending resignation or retirement of Chief Fred Fletcher, the police chief. And we say, well, David, how's that a local economy and free market issue? Well, we've done a great deal of reporting here at Nooga Radio, and also at the platform of our chief sponsor, Nooganomics.com, about policing. Policing is something that is a phenomenon that is supported by many people who would call themselves freedom-loving Americans. But these freedom-loving Americans also will talk spitefully about dropping nuclear bombs on Arab countries to wipe them all out and let God decide who's right. That kind of attitude, very careless way of thinking, but we can understand it comes from the exhilaration, I guess, of being an American and being able to tromp across the world in large steps and not worry about upon whom the boots fall. Right? If we're making great strides across continents and oceans, well, it doesn't matter if a country gets wiped out on the way. The search for a police chief is being headed by the chief executive of the city, Mayor Andy Burke, a very elusive character. His staff people, his agencies are not really responsive to. They don't have a large spirit. Okay, they're sort of small spirited people, and that is because they think that because I'm a critical journalist and I ask dumb questions that I'm to be avoided. So if you want to find out what they're saying and get their press releases, you may not be able to get them fresh from me. I have to get them warmed over from other press sources. And because it's hard to get communications from the mayor's office, even if I'm critical on some points of the administration, it suggests a sort of petty spirit, not a grand spirit, an all-encompassing kind of way of thinking that shows liberality. Right? We want the great liberal in our midst, Andy Burke, the Jewish lawyer, to be grandly liberal. Right? And I'm a classical liberal, so in a way, I'm in the same school as he. Though he's a progressive liberal and I'm classical. Classical liberal, just by the way, is one who's for the free market. And the search for mayor, which has had recent stories, how the NAACP would like to have a hand in selecting this person. Dr. Eleanor Woods on Tuesday said that she would like her group to play a role in that. There's been a committee formed by the mayor, including Bill Cox, an attorney, former DA, and Trinae Jordan, a pastor at Mount Canaan Baptist Church, and then Bill Killian, the man who's going to enforce the First Amendment on people who are Christians. That was his claim to fame as the area attorney general. And also in that group, there's a woman, Olga Decline. She was involved as the chairman of the Highland Park Neighborhood Association committee, dealing with, as they call it, safety. And then there's another party, Chris Ramsey from Techtown, the CEO, and Christy Sell, the General Sessions judge. And these are the people who are going to be advising the mayor. Now the question is, will there on the selection? And the question is, will there be a candidate sought who has a reform interest? Now we have to have that as something important. It is time for reform in this area of city government. Police departments serve the executive branch. They execute ordinances and they execute statute. Now, of course, if you're following the deep narrative of Chattanooga, that I cover, okay, that there is rumbling sort of beneath the surface, not reported anywhere by anyone but by me, and that is the claims of litigation by Basil Merceau, the perennial candidate. And so this is David Tulis, and you're live on the David Tulis program. What is on your mind?
You always bring up the best subjects, David, and this has been on my crawl, and it's one of the reasons I despise liberals, socialists, progressives, and Democrats, especially the men. Well, they're not men. You can't be a liberal, progressive, Democrat, or socialist and be a man. So they're not men. They're little boys. Make a decision, Andy Burke, you big sissy. I mean, why can't he make a decision and hire someone? You need a committee? Why don't we add, the NAACP, really? Why don't we add the ACLU to that? Be a man. Make a decision. You're the executives. And this is the problem. Democrats and liberals love committees. We need another committee. We need another focus group. We're a big sissy. He's a big sissy because I heard you on the air speaking for years. He won't come on the air with you. Make a decision. What are the people doing voting for this guy? Are you serious? You big baby.
Well, listen, the people deserve Andy Burke. They overwhelmingly supported him.
Find the chief of police. I can't make a wrong decision. Just hire one, you dope. Find one that's going to be decent, that's going to enforce. How about finding a chief of police that's going to enforce the law? You ever think about that? Instead of delivering pizzas, you jackass.
All right. Well, this is David Tulis, and we are hearing the mayor roundly abused by Confederate Mike. He's our caller, and I, my thinking is, well, if you're going to have the NAACP join in this committee, why not have the ACLU? I think the ACLU on this point has a great deal to offer. And I'm already running out of time. And the ACLU has a good deal to offer because it is concerned about the abuse of power, and particularly the abuse against the poor. These are the people who are most harassed by the police function. Policing is a social management mechanism, and these were created to control serving interests, established interests, to control working people, and even to control and in some ways oppress unions, which of course unions are not for the working man. They are for their own cartel. They are cartelized labor with their own bosses earning the $400,000 wages in their higher ranks. Well, the question that we have is, will this committee hear from you, my listener, about the need for reform? Now, I've been promoting the ideas of Chuck Wexler from the police executive. I think it's called the Law Enforcement Executive Foundation in Washington, and it's a think tank, a pro-police think tank that has important remedies for what we are fairly to call extrajudicial, statutorily approved summary executions. Now, you're more likely to be killed by a police officer than you are by a terrorist, 10 or 15 times more likely. According to the first of its kind study that came out was reported on in July of last year, there were 55,400 people hospitalized or killed by American police in a single year. Now, it's important to bring these things up because yesterday, downtown in front of the Cessna de Cosimo Police Memorial, there was a ceremony commemorating those officers who have been killed. There were, if you do the math about I think the stories in WDEF.com's story said that there are about one officer killed every 57 hours. So that averages out, the math is that it's about 153 killed per year. And there were roses, there were candles, there were very serious faced officers in line. And there was discussion about those who, as they say, made the ultimate sacrifice by dying or being killed in the line of duty on the clock. In other words, on the city payroll for a billable hour. And but it's you're six times, if that math is correct, and you have about 1,000 people a year killed by police officers, you're six times more likely to be killed by an officer than the cop is to die in the line of duty. And according to that study, one out of every 291 legal stops end in an injury or death. So there's a very large proportion of legal stops, as they're called, of the citizen by the officer, and one in every 291 ends in injury or death. In 1 in 11 cases where someone died because someone intentionally fired a weapon, the police officer pulled the trigger. That's a very low, almost 1 in 10. The police officer is responsible. 10% of gun deaths are by police officers. Now, this is a remarkable figure, and the reporting is from the British Medical Journal. On average, an estimated 1 in 291 stop arrests resulted in a hospital-treated injury or death of a suspect or a bystander, according to this report. There's a Dr. Miller quoted, and these are figures that maybe deserve a memorial, another kind of memorial, one to the citizen, right? One to the poor citizen, perhaps Cessna Cosmo could be petitioned by some nonprofit organization, a 501c3, seeking to commemorate people who are killed. Remember, when an officer kills someone, that person has done something wrong, right? There's a statutory defense for the officer that allows the officer to kill that person. So again, it's extrajudicial and it's statutorily permitted, and it is summary. In other words, it happens in short order, and usually under the constraints of time. The officers think that, well, we've got to solve this problem now. We have someone in a house. We have someone who's got a gun, who's wielded his gun, and maybe even pointed it in the direction of the officer. So that person can't be negotiated with. There has to be a quick response. The officers are prone to draw lines in the sand and to think that we have got to solve it now. There's this great pressure of urgency, and yet the Chuck Wexler reforms that have been in circulation and have had very good effect in many cities. Many cities have adopted these provisions, but there are 4 points. Now, the question is, can the mayor, who's a very intelligent man with a law degree from the University of Chicago, probably at the same time that former President Obama was there. There are 4 steps, and does the mayor have enough wherewithal to consider them in the benefit of innocent people who do not deserve capital punishment and who are not found guilty of anything worthy of capital or corporal punishment, which is what police have been meting out for years in this country, with growing protest, right? There's a growing protest and growing dislike, thanks to the digital economy, thanks to the gig economy that is all over the place and increasing. The gig economy, the digital economy, is increasing our liberty. Okay, it is increasing what happens. Less can be hidden, less can be secreted away in police files and police vaults. And the 4 reforms are the proper use of cover, space, time, and then the 4th one is kind of not in the same frame or same shape as the first 3, and that is de-escalation, demilitarization, where you don't have to make an issue of it right now. Okay, well, let's just back off. We have a problem here. There's a man who's either suicidal, he may have a gun, he may want to injure somebody, but in the end, many of these people have a death wish. They're not lucid. They are under control of narcotics. We have a highly narcotized populace, starting in public school. Public school is the place where people become addicted, and they have addictions their whole lives, and they are mentally, as they say, mentally unstable. And so Chattanooga is beginning the search for a chief, and the question is, will there be an interest in these reforms? And so that's a question for you. You, my listener, need to know who these people on the committee are. And if you have a sense of civic duty and civic obligation, why don't you be part of the solution, right? The solution to abuse by the executive branch of the city corporation, right? These are all city employees. Police officers are not a special line of people. They are city employees. They're death by cop and the new chief. Where are we going to go? There are solutions to get to, but I don't have but a second here to tell you what they are. But I would say in shorthand, the solutions to this problem would be appeal for a progressive police chief, maybe someone who the ACLU would pass for, right? Maybe pass on, maybe someone who a good liberal Democrat would pass on. This is the kind of person we need. Okay, so if you're a Democrat listening to the David Tulis program here at 92.7 FM and 1240 AM, you need to assert yourself, right? I'm not progressive. Okay, I'm a classical liberal. And so you need to get with the action here and get your Democrat mayor on the program of reform. There are solutions: respectful speech, knowledge of the law to avoid encouraging abuse, filming of police encounters, affidavits. Also, the armed citizen, he is part of the solution. Also, the rise of apps in the digital economy, not calling police when you have a problem, but calling your neighbor. That is the local economy argument. Personal connection, personal care, one person for the other, without calling for state intervention, right? When you call the cops, you are calling for state intervention. Period. That's a simple solution. So can you do things to avoid that? Avoid calling the cops. Make demand for cop services go down. Make demand for police services go down because you have a private solution. What are the private solutions? I ask you, what are these private solutions? And then finally, another solution is political pressure on Andy Burke, who cares about the poor, right? If Andy Burke cares about the poor, if he cares about Hanson Melvin, who has a nice interview at the TFP website on the video, then he should be caring about reform. It's up to you to ask Andy, what about reform, Andy? This is David Tulis.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
The deadline is approaching for the school board to pick a new superintendent of schools. The last round of interviews will be happening next week, and the selection will be made June the 15th. A man was killed when his car careened off of Amnicola Highway to the left, heading towards 153. He smashed into a tree. He was pinned inside his car, where he died. Firefighters had to cut him out. There were no other cars involved. The police are trying to find out how exactly this crash happened. The body of the teenager that was found at the bottom of the Sale Creek Bluff has been identified as Zachary Schaefer, a 15-year-old Soddy Daisy High School student who went running on the Cumberland Trail and wasn't seen again. 84-year-old Buster Garrison has been arrested after the police say he holed himself up inside of his house with a hostage, and a SWAT team responded along with a negotiator team. They eventually coaxed him out. He was suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and rushed to the hospital. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a very mild and muggy start to your Friday. Hot again for the afternoon. An isolated shower storm, though, may pop up. Highs upper 80s. Tonight, lows only to the mid and upper 60s. For Saturday, a hot, mainly dry day. Highs up around 90 with showers and thunder showers late Saturday night through Sunday. Do you have a pesky tree that needs to be removed around your home or business? Call Paul Bunyan Tree Service at 423-421-2104. That's 421-2104. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
When my brother and I opened the first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300 plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Need to sell your house? Want to buy another house? Choose Exit Realty Scenic City. Our goals are simple. If you're selling, we get you the best price possible in the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassle. Our agents are professional, competent, and courteous. We stay in touch every step of the way. If you're buying, we make sure you get all the information necessary to choose the right house in the right location at the best price. Exit Realty is one of the fastest growing real estate companies in North America. Our agents have extensive training, state-of-the-art technology, and full support that allows us to do the best job possible for you. If you're in the market to buy or sell, call us today, 423-551-EXIT. That's 423-551-3948. If you're an agent or considering a career in real estate, call us today. See what Exit Realty can do for you. No desk fees, residual income, technology to the max, and people first. Call us today, 551-EXIT. That's 551-3948. We're located at 7610 Hamilton Park Drive, just off the Bonnie Oaks exit.
Need a tiller to get things going for the spring? Spiff up your porch, maybe your deck? Come on by and get a pressure washer at Action Rental. Family in town, need some tables and chairs for an event? Come on by and see us, Action Rental. This is Dan at Action Rental on Lee Highway. Come by and see me, Action Rentals.
Final expenses, funeral costs, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484.
I've got a $10 bill for you at the best paint store in Chattanooga. David here. Hi. Big savings right now on paint and stains. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Ring up a can and keep that $10 bill. Save on select paints and stains at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Pittsburgh, Porter, Glidden, Prolux, Olympic, Flood. $10 a can. Savings this week. Jim and his team are here to help and advise and to help you hold on to your money. 5529 Hickson Pike. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. ChattanoogaPaint.com.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
And he's the smartest guy only because he asks slow man questions, the dumb man questions. That's what I specialize in. David Tulis here at Nooga Radio, AM 440 and FM 92.7. I'm very slow. And that lets me say that sometimes I think the answers are nowhere near as good as the question. If you're slow, you have a better chance of asking the better question. And so we have a question now before us about the digital economy, the sharing economy, and the gig city. And that is to say, we have new relations being created by people around the world who want to come to Chattanooga, but they don't want to stay in a hotel. They want the privilege and delight of staying in a private house through the digital network, Airbnb, and others. There are competing websites that offer the same service. And so they come here, they live for a week, a day, maybe a couple of days in a private dwelling, apartment, or house. And there now is a question about, should this activity be regulated? Some people who are neighbors, some people who theorize about these relationships are critical. They say that, well, this is a problem because these are private neighborhoods. And here, notice there's a house that's owned by an investor who doesn't live here, and people are coming and going all the time. Every third day, there's someone else living in that house. And we, as neighbors, think that this breaks the spirit of our community. Somehow, is violative of our togetherness as a neighborhood. And so, from this sort of complaint, there has arisen a proposal that city government, the municipal corporation, has to regulate. Or its members have to regulate this activity. We have Chip Henderson here in the studio. He is a city council member, age 56, and he's a contractor, runs Henderson Construction, and deals with commercial work and also up-rent houses. He's married. He and his wife, Deanne, have 3 grown children, married, and there are 4 grandchildren, 1 in utero. He wanted to make sure that the one in utero is counted, so we counted that as number 4. Chip, you proposed a map of Chattanooga, and explain what the map does and what the lines are that you're proposing be drawn, and what the proposal is that you've put forth to other members of the council as to how their hands can control where that line is drawn. What's the story?
Okay, well, let's go back just a little bit. When I first came onto the council 4 years ago, well, a little over 4 years ago now, I was on the planning commission, and we would have many requests that would come before us to go to turn someone's home into an Airbnb, or what we refer to as short-term vacation rental. Many times, and as a zoning case is, you have to come before the planning commission. They give, they approve or deny or recommend denial. And so then it comes to city council for a vote. And many times we would see community members would come to city council and they say, we don't object to the use, we just don't like the zoning becoming an R3 or an R4 in our R1 neighborhood. So I asked the RPA.
Well, just back up. R1 means residential. R3 and 4, what does that
Well,
suggest?
that's multifamily dwelling. R1 is single family residential. R3 and R4 are more intense. They're multifamily. Many cases could be apartments, so on and so forth. So we would get a lot of people coming objecting to the zoning to the R3, R4 that had no opposition to the use of it. So I asked RPA, John Bridger at a regional planning agency, to give the council a different tool. And so they came back with a recommendation of offering short-term vacation rental through a certificate. Now, back in September, I believe it was, I offered a piece of legislation that would have allowed short-term vacation rental by certificate citywide within all the city limits of Chattanooga. It was voted down, I think, 6-2 at that point in time. So what I sort of regrouped, and let me just say this, I'm very much in favor of short-term vacation rentals. My wife and I took a trip to Italy back in the summer. I purposefully stayed in Airbnbs everywhere I went. We visited 3 cities. It was a great experience. And I came back convinced more than ever that Chattanooga needs to be able to allow this industry to flourish. And I think it will. I think the numbers indicate this. It was a $2.5 million industry in Chattanooga last year. So there were 6 council members that were not in favor of allowing this by a certificate citywide. So I came back to the city attorney and I said, is there a possibility of creating a short-term vacation district? And that's how we came up with a map. And we started with, here again, I engaged John Bridger from RPA, and we started with the urban overlay. And basically what that is, it sort of defines where the density is in Chattanooga. We started with that. I brought it back to city council and I told them, okay, here we'll start with this map, because the ones that had been in favor of it before seemed to be more in the downtown and the urban districts. So I brought it back to city council with this map, and I told the city council members, you can add to or take away from this district however you feel like your constituents would like to see this happen. We had a meeting about 2 weeks ago with Councilwoman Coonrod in the Glenwood Neighborhood Association. I thought it was a very good meeting. However, the Glenwood Neighborhood Association asked Councilwoman Coonrod to opt them out of the short-term vacation rental district. However, the Missionary Ridge Neighborhood Association decided to opt into it. So some neighborhoods, some communities want this and some do not. And so as a representative of the people, and that's what we are elected to do, is represent the desires and wishes of our constituents. And so that's how we came up with the proposed map that I've laid out.
Well, the idea of an association of neighbors voting for or voting against seems a little unusual. How does that work? Is that somehow reflective of democratic values, or is that just as it were an association representing a neighborhood pretending to be or acting as a kind of a lobby? Well, we're for this or we're against this, and please put us on the list. Is that
well? This is residents. This is residents of a neighborhood, and they form an association that is recognized by the city of Chattanooga. And we put, as the city council, I feel like we put stock in what a neighborhood association desires to see. And there were citizens of the Glenwood Neighborhood Association, and I'm talking about residents that were there at that meeting, voicing concerns, and many of them had legitimate concerns about some of the concerns, I guess, of the Airbnb model.
Well, what are the concerns that you've heard either personally or reports about Chip Henderson, city council member?
One of the biggest concerns is the fact that you would have such a transient population coming in and out. They would never know, who was living or who was staying next door to them. Some are concerned that could affect their children. They're concerned with the safety. They're concerned with the increase in traffic that it might create. Now, this is what I'm hearing from actual residents in different parts of the city
who say that they would rather not have their neighbors involved in that commerce.
That's correct. Yes.
Well, what else do you have to say about that? We're talking here about homeowners. These are major investments for everybody who owns a home. They range when they bought these houses. They were, depending on when they bought them, from $75,000 to a couple $100,000 investment. And here they have the prospect of cash flow. People need money. It's a good way of earning money. Should not that be left to the individual who means no harm and has really every intention of having the best people come? Because after all, in the Airbnb, well, just when you took part in Airbnb, council member Chip Henderson, did you rate the host and the host's property when you?
I did. There was a mechanism on Airbnb website that I could go in and rate and give comment to each host that I stayed at.
And did they rate you as whether you left paper cups behind?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Soiled diapers or what have you.
So it's a two-way street.
Right. So, but would not that private rating mechanism, which is kind of self-regulation, would not that tend to increase the level on both sides of that transaction? The house owner wanting to have the best property, the nicest property, the most amenities, and then the visitor and the right price, and the visitor being rated also, and they're rating each other. Would that not tend to elevate the quality of the people who are in these neighborhoods, such as Glenwood?
Well, I would tend to agree with that. But here is what I have found since I've been on the city council, just a little over 4 years now. We have to legislate towards the people that are not going to do what's right, and they're out there. Those landlords, those hosts that are not going to now. And let's be. I want to be very clear about something. This is not an Airbnb legislation. This is short-term vacation rental legislation, and there is a difference. Airbnb is a brand. Short-term vacation rental is a model, or it's a concept. So anybody that goes or uses Airbnb for their short-term vacation rentals, I'm just going to say Airbnb has a great platform. I don't know that if other platforms, other websites have that same platform that Airbnb does, where the host can rate the visitor and the visitor can rate the host. I think that's a great method, but nowhere in our legislation are we trying to get hosts to rate guests and guests to rate hosts. So we're not legislating that. So that does not mean that everybody has to go down that road.
But all these platforms, since the earliest online flea market, they're all about rating each other. And if you have good numbers, you get willing customers to your property. And if you have good numbers as a guest, you'll be accepted readily as a guest. And so there's already self-regulation built into that whole sharing economy. And that's why my listener here at Nooga Radio, Chip Henderson, wonders if this is necessary. Is not. Let me ask you this: is not what you're proposing sort of old school? You're using a map. You're saying, here's a map. We're going to draw lines, and you, city council member, you help me include this neighborhood or exclude this neighborhood for being part of the privileged group that can do short-term vacation rental without rezoning. Is that not kind of old school, trying to control new school, the old paradigm of regulation in a fixed geographical location, somehow trying to put its hands on something which is ethereal? It is simply outside the scope of the city limits. Even though these houses are in the city limits, the digital economy is not trappable or press downable, if you will, by your scheme.
Okay.
It seems like you're using that old system to try to handle a new system.
So you claim that you have a listener.
I have one listener. That's right. That's you.
Okay. And I have constituents.
Many
I have many constituents.
Thousands of them.
Each elected official has constituents, and our job is to listen to those constituents. So what this map has become a process through listening to our constituents. It's not what Chip Henderson wanted. Chip Henderson wanted to do it and use the map of the whole city of Chattanooga. But that's not what other council members that represent their constituents in the city of Chattanooga wanted. So that's where the map came into being.
Well, getting back to my question, Chip Henderson, the idea of Gig City, though, with its high-speed internet and its digital economy, trying to bring people into town from far places to be part of our new economy town, would seem to suggest that the council should not try to impose the map on this activity.
Well, what my only response, I don't know if it's my only response.
Give me your best one.
My best response to that is, as an elected official, I need to listen to my constituents, and each elected official, there's 8 other elected officials here, and they're listening to their constituents as well. Now, if all of the constituents, and if we lived in a perfect government, everybody should be able to vote on this issue, because it affects.
We have a plebiscite.
It affects them. So everybody should. So if everybody could vote on this issue, whatever the result of that vote is what we should do. Now, so we have a representative form of government, and because we do, I listen to my constituents. 8 other elected officials listen to their constituents, and this is the result of listening to our constituents.
This is David Tulis. Thanks for joining us for a minute here. We're talking with Chip Henderson, City Council member. He is a contractor, runs Henderson Construction, and we're talking about Airbnb, which deals with the use of structures such as those he has built all across Chattanooga as an entrepreneur. Well, the question I have next, Chip, is this: are the complaints that are being that you've heard, do they rise to the level of being wrongs, actionable torts, or evils that would need require redress in court? Are they that bad? Is there anyone who says, well, if this comes through and we have open Airbnb or short-term vacation rental uses in the neighborhoods, that I'm going to be the victim of a wrong which will be actionable? Has anybody said anything of that kind to you?
As far as well, the concern that I have heard is over the children in their neighborhood. They do feel like some neighborhoods, some people that I've spoken to, some neighborhood association meetings that I've gone to, they have expressed that opinion, that they feel like that they will be in danger, that they are being threatened by allowing this to come into their neighborhood.
And these people, though, because they have this apprehension, because they have small children, toddlers, and they have big wheel tricycles in their front yards and so on, they want to force other innocent property owners who are involved in a harmless free market activity to have to submit to a licensing process by the city. Is that not an offense against the principles of free market that Chattanooga represents?
Let me bring up this, and you sent me, but I think it was on the Chattanoogan that you had a response to this Airbnb.
Yes, Chattanoogan.com. That's
Chattanoogan.com, and you put that we should respect private property rights and keep its hands off of the private rental market. But here's what I would answer to that, and maybe in a form of a question to you: would you consider motel industry being private industry?
Yes.
Private property. So
yes, it's private property. It's an investment, money generating for-profit industry. Correct.
Well, I would take the opposite view of that. I would say that it's a public use. We're asking the public to come there, and as one of the jobs, and maybe my primary job as an elected official, is the safety of its citizens. Now, we may disagree or we may debate what that looks like, but the safety of our citizens should be my number one priority. So when somebody comes to a motel, I feel like the structure should be safe. There should be life safety items in that motel that make sure that when they come there, they have a reasonable expectation that they can leave that motel in the same condition that they arrived at that motel. Now, I feel like what we've done with the Airbnb industry, the short-term vacation rental industry, is we have become more of a commercialized industry in that regard. To me, it is no longer just a private residence. You have asked the public to come in, and you're willing to exchange that right to come for dollars.
It's not quite that open, Chip. After all, you have to apply to become a member of Airbnb, either as a customer or as a vendor. It is a private network by application, and people have to pay to be involved in it. You pay a fee. You pay the fee, the check the credit card payment you make to Airbnb as a customer. Most of it goes to the provider, and 3 or 4 or 5% goes to the middleman, which is the company. So it's not like an open carrier in transportation. If you're a carrier in transportation, you are open. You have to take anybody who's willing to pay the price. It's not really public anymore. A hotel is public. There's not that rating system, and if you have a hotel, you have to take all comers. You cannot discriminate. Because this is a private relationship, though, you have discrimination, and you have ratings, and people, if they don't do well, they're rated down, and then finally they're out. It's not quite as open as you suggest.
Here again, you're referring to one platform. You're referring to Airbnb. I could, as a short-term vacation rental business, create my own website and just advertise through my own website. I would not have to go through Airbnb. I would not have to rate customers. They would not have the ability to rate me. So those are the types of people that we also have to look at, and we have to protect citizens in the fact that they're now coming to lodge. Did we run out of time? Huh?
Go ahead. Finish your sentence.
Okay. They're coming to lodge in a place that they're not familiar with, and we need to create some safety for those people.
This is David Tulis, and Chip Henderson, City Council member, suggesting that safety is the primary concern of his bill, his measure that would create a district map for Airbnb and similar services, short-term vacation rental. This is David Tulis, Chip Henderson. Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely.
1240 AM and FM 92.7.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com, Chattanooga's premier house buyer. Do you have a house you need to sell fast? We are buying. Call us today. We are local folks. We will buy your house as is, no repairs needed. We will give you a cash offer and close on the day of your choice. Call us right now, 423-834-7321. Need to sell a house fast? We are buying. Are you experiencing one of these situations? Inherited a house you have no need for? Behind on your property taxes? Nightmare tenants making your life miserable? Too many repairs needed and don't have a desire to fix? Behind on payments and facing foreclosure? Recently divorced and need a way out of the house? Never really wanted to be a landlord and just want to cash out? Trying to relocate and need to sell your house? Do you need to sell a house fast? We are buying. No fees, no hassles, no repair costs. Close on the day of your choice. Our process is simple. Call us today. We inspect your property right away. We make you a fair cash offer. We close on the day of your choice. Call us today, 423-834-7321. Visit our website, iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com. Call us today, 423-834-7321. iBuyChattanoogaHouses.com.
Need windows? Hey folks, do you need new windows? Good news. Window Depot of Chattanooga has a great special going on right now. 10 high-quality, energy-efficient, double-hung vinyl windows installed for only $29.90. That's right, 10 double-hung vinyl windows, only $2,990. And yes, they qualify for the TVA rebates. Call 894-0011. Window Depot of Chattanooga today, located at 5950 Shalford Road. Call 894-0011 today.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is, Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
Are you shovel ready to build a house, but you're not a builder? Are you shovel ready? Michael's Homes is ready to bulldoze its way to a solution for you. You have ideas on what you want in a house, but you're looking for someone to bring your ideas into a plan and turn your plan into a house. Michael's Homes, custom builder. Michael's Homes has lots available at a new subdivision, River Bay Estates, that's Harrison. Maybe River Watch in Saudi Daisy. Choices galore, lots, houses, beautiful homes all over Chattanooga. The Canyons, Hickson, Crystal Brook, Appleton. Drive in, take a look, consult with us. We build on your lot or ours. Homes-Chattanooga.com.
Call 423-413-9929.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chops him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway. Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR. WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDT Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. We have breaking news from New York, where disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner will be in federal court an hour from now to plead guilty to a sex crime. Live to CBS's Gary Nunn.
Frank, the former New York congressman faces criminal charges in connection with that investigation of sexting with a 15-year-old girl. An FBI investigation of Weiner began last fall after the North Carolina teenager said that the two had exchanged lewd messages over a period of several months. That investigation led law enforcement to seize Weiner's laptop, which also revealed a series of emails that Hillary Clinton had sent to Huma Abedin, Weiner's wife, and top aide to Clinton.
Sweden has dropped a criminal case against the WikiLeaks founder, but Julian Assange says he won't forgive or forget. CBS's Larry Miller has the latest from London.
Lawyers for Julian Assange say the move by Sweden to drop its rape investigation is a total victory, and Assange posted a smiling selfie. But Britain insists he still faces charges for jumping bail when he sought asylum in Ecuador's London embassy 5 years ago. U.S. Attorney General Sessions says he wants Assange arrested for uploading thousands of secret American documents, and WikiLeaks says Britain won't reveal if it's received a U.S. extradition request. Larry Miller, CBS News, London.
President Trump heads to the Middle East tonight. CBS News correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The way aides described the trip, the president aims to unite the world's 3 great religions, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, by visiting cities and sites holy to all 3. Saudi Arabia is the first stop through the weekend, then Israel and the West Bank on Monday and Tuesday, and the Vatican on Wednesday. All this before he meets dozens more leaders at the NATO and G7 summits at the end of the week.
A friend of fired FBI Director James Comey says Comey had an uneasy relationship with President Trump. Benjamin Wittes told PBS Comey feared the president was out to torpedo his Russia election meddling investigation.
He believes that the White House should not ask investigative questions, and he believes he shouldn't be chummy with the president.
The turnout is so heavy that officials have extended voting in Iran's presidential election for 2 hours. In Tehran, CBS News correspondent Elizabeth Palmer tells us the election amounts to a referendum on Iran's nuclear weapons deal with the U.S. and other world powers.
There's a consensus that President Rouhani will probably win by a narrow margin. If Ibrahim Raisi, the conservative hardliner, wins, the world and the United States in particular will be having to deal with a much more hostile isolationist Iran.
Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley was moved to tears when he apologized for issuing a proclamation honoring the man who had killed a police officer.
This was a huge mistake. It was not done intentionally. It was human error.
The mayor says the buck stops with him, but an aide to the mayor is taking blame for the mistake. In early trading, the Dow Industrials are up 86 points. This is CBS News.
Fire the stockbroker and hire yourself. I'm Larry Levin, and I've been on the trading floor for 23 years. I'm also the president of Trading Advantage, teaching people how to become professional day traders. Now, for a limited time, I'm offering one of the trading techniques I use to make $1.9 million for free. Get started right now by calling 800-288-0092. Leave your email address on my voicemail, and I'll email you my free trading technique and my daily insider market report at no cost to you. Again, call in the next 90 minutes and leave your email address on my voicemail. Call 800-288-0092. That's 800-288-0092.
In business, risks and rewards come with every decision, like moving to the cloud with Office 365. While its benefits include anywhere access and lower costs, cyber threats and user errors can quickly wipe out data and the money you save. Barracuda Essentials for Office 365 provide an added layer of security and functionality for threat protection, email migration, data recovery, and quality of service. Move securely to Office 365. Visit barracuda.com/essentials to learn more.
Changing what you eat could make a big difference. CBS's Jim Hannity has the latest from the Health Watch.
You don't have to be a vegetarian to benefit from that kind of a diet. Scientists in Spain have found that just cutting down on the amount of meat you consume can reduce your risk of obesity by nearly half. Their study involves some 16,000 people who were asked to eat more meat-free meals and consume more fruits and veggies. What researchers described as not a radical shift to a vegetarian diet, but more of a gentle approximation. And the less meat the people ate, the less likely they were to become obese. They're calling it the flexitarian diet. Jim Hannity, CBS News.
Bagels have been a big part of Joanne and Dennis Nasdan's diet for the past 20 years, which is why they've decided to renew their wedding vows at the neighborhood bagel shop in their hometown, Bloomfield, New Jersey. The ceremony will be private, but the store will stay open for business. Frank Sedapani, CBS.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
The deadline is approaching for the school board to pick a new superintendent of schools. The last round of interviews will be happening next week, and the selection will be made June the 15th. A man was killed when his car careened off of Amnicola Highway to the left, heading towards 153. He smashed into a tree. He was pinned inside his car, where he died. Firefighters had to cut him out. There were no other cars involved. The police are trying to find out how exactly this crash happened. The body of the teenager that was found at the bottom of the Sale Creek Bluff has been identified as Zachary Schaefer, a 15-year-old Soddy Daisy High School student who went running on the Cumberland Trail and wasn't seen again. 84-year-old Buster Garrison has been arrested after the police say he holed himself up inside of his house with a hostage, and a SWAT team responded along with a negotiator team. They eventually coaxed him out. He was suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and rushed to the hospital. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a very mild and muggy start to your Friday. Hot again for the afternoon. An isolated shower storm, though, may pop up. Highs upper 80s. Tonight, lows only to the mid and upper 60s. For Saturday, a hot, mainly dry day. Highs up around 90 with showers and thunder showers late Saturday night through Sunday. Do you have a pesky tree that needs to be removed around your home or business? Call Paul Bunyan Tree Service at 423-421-2104. That's 421-2104. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
This is David Tulis, the smartest guy with a bow tie, and the fact that I wear bow ties leaves room for you. You don't wear bow ties, my listener, so you can be the smartest man in Chattanooga with the regular tie. And you do that by tuning in to Hot News Talk Radio and Nooga Radio, our station, and that's at AM 1240 and FM 92.7. I cover local economy and the free markets, and we're exploring with an entrepreneur, Chip Henderson, some questions about the use of private property, and is it right for one group of people who own a house to say to the government, you know, that person over there in that other house is doing something that kind of annoys me, and I want you to make them stop doing it. That's kind of the question that's before us, as Chip Henderson is a city council member and has heard a great deal about concerns, as they're termed, about neighbors, from one person speaking about a neighbor who is involved in the short-term vacation rental field, which is a lot of private business where a homeowner lets out his house in his absence, right? The person is gone for vacation for 2 weeks and is a member, say, of Airbnb, the online sharing economy, very, very multi-billion-dollar digital network, and lets strangers stay in his house. The stranger is vetted by the group, is a fellow member of Airbnb. And so here we have people in the same network arranging for a private trade. The trade is, I'll write you a check, or I'll give you a payment through Airbnb of several $100s to stay in your wonderful house in the neighborhood there among the trees and the gardens and the chirping birds and the green lawns. And you receive the benefit of that, and I have the pleasure of staying in a private house rather than in a hotel. And it's a great economic development. Of course, the hotel business is not happy about it. And hotels are challenged in their business model by the new paradigm, the sharing economy paradigm. Well, Chip Henderson, you are a city council member. You're a builder. You're 56 years old. You're the father of 3 children. You and your wife, Deanne, and you have 4 grandchildren, 1 in utero. And you've been thinking a lot about lately and hearing public comment at venues, at forums, neighborhood association meetings, and the like. Complaints about and discussion of the Airbnb phenomenon. Airbnb, will just use that here as a shorthand for the short-term rental economy. Right? It is a part of the free market. And in a nutshell, well, we're gonna get. Let's just talk about this first. I think we have another question regarding the police chief, but this is really kind of front of our minds. What are the complaints? Are you hearing these complaints from your very tortured-looking, gerrymandered-looking district in District 1 of City Council? What are you hearing from your constituents?
Actually, in my district, District 1, they're the people I've talked to are very much in favor of allowing their neighbors or themselves even to do short-term vacation rental as an avenue for extra money, whatever. I've heard no complaints from my district, District 1, for short-term vacation rental. Most of the complaints, the concerns have come from other council members in other districts. As I said before, we came up for a vote to do this citywide through a certificate back in September, October, and it was defeated. The bill was defeated that I proposed 6-2. So I went back to the drawing board, reconfigured it a little bit. Well, let me point out one other thing that I try to do. There's a difference between owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied Airbnb or short-term vacation rentals. And what the non-owner-occupied short-term vacation rental applicants have to go through a public process. They submit their application. So they have to send out letters within 300 feet to all the bordering neighbors. They have to post a sign that they're requesting a certificate, and then they have to send a letter.
Is that the current process? Or is that proposed?
That is how we do it through zoning currently. And that is my proposal, is that we do non-owner occupied short-term vacation rentals through a public process. Now, if you are owner occupied, you live in the house that you're going to rent out, then you just go down, make application. If you meet, all the life safety requirements, the codes, smoke detectors, so on and so forth, egress, then if you meet all those, then you get your certification to do short-term vacation rental district. So what I felt like that we're trying to do is create a little bit easier process for those that want to do it, that they're going to operate this in their own home.
Well, what is the real difference between the owner-occupied house available through this marketplace and the non-owner occupied? Is somehow the non-owner occupied more dangerous to neighbors, Chip Henderson?
Well, and the people that I've talked to that have concerns about this do express a concern about the fact that parties, they're concerned about, maybe older college students. You have to be 21 to rent these. Older college students coming, having parties, loud music, so on and so forth. If you are non-owner occupied, you're obviously not on site. You're not going to be aware of this. So it's going to be more neighborhood complaint driven. If you're owner occupied, you're obviously on site and you're able to take care of any kind of disruptions, noise, whatever. You're able to take care of it much more quickly than if you're non-owner occupied.
Does owner occupied imply that the owner is there while the guest is there, or just he's there generally, but when he's not there, the guest can come in?
Well, owner occupied generally implies that you are there while you're renting your rooms or whatever out, your house out.
Okay. But in the principle of the marketplace, and looking just briefly here, Chip Henderson, at the principle of property ownership, the fact that the owner is away and has this house as an investment and as a source by which to generate income, that property right is not less than the property right of the owner who's there most of the year but rents it out when he is on vacation with his family, right? Would you not say that the claims of property rights are the same for each house?
Well, I've often been told that your rights end at the end of your nose. So, what we have to balance that with is, and this is the main concern that I'm hearing from other council members, from their constituents, is the safety issue. So, it's like I said before, my number one concern as elected official, as a government official, should be the safety of our citizens. And I think that's where we're trying to come up with a balancing act between those property rights that you so correctly identify that they have, but also the rights of those neighbors around there to have some kind of reasonably assured safety in their neighborhood.
But that's a very vague and subjective standard by which to oppress someone who has an innocent use of his property. He's an out-of-town owner, and he now can't do what he wishes innocently and harmlessly in the marketplace because of subjective fear of a neighbor who's worried about someone who may come for a couple of nights in that house.
Well, and this all goes back to, let me point out this, and we may have to have a debate on zoning laws and zoning ordinances, but it sort of goes back to zoning again. When you're in an R1 neighborhood, you can reasonably expect that you're living in a residential neighborhood with one family dwelling in that house. Now, what we're doing by allowing the short-term vacation rentals to come in is we are sort of changing the complexity of that a little bit. So if you, David, go into a neighborhood and you buy a house in a neighborhood that's R1, you can expect that all the neighbors around you are a single family dwelling in that neighborhood. So what we're doing is adding a commercial component to it. We're now opening it up and making that a little bit more public. We're increasing traffic. We understand that. And the neighbors, rightfully so, around that area, when they bought into that property, they have rights as well. So we have to address
Well, they have
issues.
expectations. These are not rights. One homeowner does not have rights over another person's property. He has expectations.
Okay. They have reasonable expectations. I'll go that far with you.
Well, this is David Tulis. Thanks for joining us. We're talking with Chip Henderson, City Council member, and we're looking at the debate over Airbnb. Well, here's a question my listener has, Chip, and it says, do the rules that you're proposing, or do any rules over this era of the free market, defeat the open city claims of gig city, our moniker for the internet-driven southern bastion of prosperity and the digital economy? Does it defeat that marketing term, that concept?
Personally, I don't think it infringes on gig city at all, and I really don't see how that would have any effect on the fact that we're offering short-term vacation rentals in a district, in a map, a drawn line. I'm not sure how that would affect the claims on gig city at all.
The mayor, Chip Henderson, is looking to hire a new chief of police. Fred Fletcher is departing in July, and he's formed a committee to help him decide whom might be the best candidates. What do you make of this story? And talk a little bit about Chief Fletcher, what you know about him, and what your general expectation might be for his replacement.
Well, here again, let me go back to when Chief Fletcher first came and I first met him. I was a big proponent of having someone local within the police department be promoted as our next chief. I was for a local police chief, and within talking with Chief Fletcher for 30 minutes, I felt like he was one of us. I felt like his ideas that he had about community policing, about just in communication, I felt like he was one of us. So I've been impressed with Chief Fletcher. I've appreciated the things that he's tried to do. I think he's taken us light years ahead in our technology in policing. As far as one of the questions that I asked Chief Fletcher when he came, and I told him my desire for having a local hire for police chief. One of the things he told me is he hoped to train his replacement, and that meant a lot to me. So, what I'm looking for in the next police chief is someone coming out of the department that's ready to lead, the biggest department we have in the city government. So I think it's important that that next person, that next police chief, understands the problems that Chattanooga has, but he or she is also able to lead this department. He is an administrator.
What Chief Fletcher has been noted for his defense and support of about a 25-year-old theory called community policing. What is community policing in your understanding, and have his efforts to bring it about here been successful?
I think the last number that I saw on our homicide clearance rate was up to about 80%, I believe. I attribute a lot of that to the community policing, and that's going out and gaining the trust of the community. And I think that the problem that we were having in a lot of our homicides is nobody really wanted to come forth and talk about what they saw, actually come to court and testify. But I think the community policing has begun to gain the trust of the community. One of the things that we're doing is having lineups, front porch lineups in the communities. In fact, we're going to have one in Lookout Valley area in June. But what that does, that allows the community, that allows the neighbors to see police in a little bit different light. If the only time you ever
how is that different? How is that light different?
Well, I was going to say, if the only time that you see a police officer is when you're in trouble for something, then obviously you see him as the big bad boogeyman or whatever. But if you see them as you and I, as a fellow citizen, then you understand their thoughts and their philosophies and their ambition to keep you safe. I believe that affects the way that you see the police.
Well, cop, after all, means citizen on patrol. That's the original meaning of it. And police, though, are not citizens anymore. They belong to an elite paramilitary, vertically integrated organization, which has a kind of military and enforcement function. It is in many ways, Chip Henderson, the policing is a constant reminder of the claims of the state as against the citizen. Now, you could say, well, the state is there to help the citizen and protect the citizen, but when policing is concerned, most interactions are enforcement actions, and they're not really actions that are saving someone from a rape or rushing to a robbery or rushing to a scene where a body has been found. Those are very few of those cases. Most cases are enforcement of statute for actions in which there's no victim, there's no dead body, there's no burned house, or looted bags of money. And so that I think is why one of the rationales for community policing is that we want to soften the harsh claims of the state as against the people. And so we want to make our officers personable. We want them to be human. We want them to be seen as helpful, as looking out for your interests, and not there spying on you to trap you if you make a left turn without using your indicator, or have some narcotics on your person, or a gun in your pants without a permit. What do you expect of the new chief? What kind of changes might he bring to Chattanooga and to that department?
I'm not sure exactly what changes that he will make or what he'll bring to Chattanooga. We've begun moving toward technology, enabling technology to help us solve crimes. And I'll be honest, when I first came on the council, I was not a big fan of cameras, of putting up cameras. To me, that feels a little bit like spying on our residents. Here's the problem that I'm seeing. We're not having witnesses come forth after a shooting and stand up in court and say, this is what I saw. But with cameras, the cameras can report a vehicle. The cameras can report a figure that was there. So I guess I'm beginning to see in a little bit different light. And now, one of the things that we did, and while I was chairman of the Public Safety Committee, is held a committee hearing on developing policy for these cameras that we're posting. And I think through that, we may have developed a policy that sort of protects the rights and the privacy of citizens. One of the big concerns that I had, particularly with a body camera, is going into a home, that video recording, whatever's in that house, those type things, we've got to protect the privacy of those individuals. So here again, I think it goes back to balance, having that balance between bringing someone to justice that has done wrong and protecting the privacy of our individual citizens. Those are the top things that I think the next police chief are really going to have to be concerned with, because as the technology increases, those types of things are what we're going to have to address to make sure that we still have our right to privacy, but that we're still bringing to justice those people that disobey the law.
The unblinking eye of my listener's smartphone upon a police encounter is pushing back traditional policing. I think in the data for American policing, 10% of gun deaths are by officers. In 1 in 11 cases where someone dies because someone intentionally shoot, well, that's the police officer pulling the trigger. That's from Ted Miller Pacific Institute. 1 in 291 legal stops end in an injury or death. According to one study by a British medical journal, 55,400 people are hospitalized or killed by American police officers every year. That is a cry for reform, and the listener with his camera he's going to hopefully catch something amiss in the next year. What about reform of the Chattanooga Police Department? What do you think is needed to bring about reduced number of deaths and injuries by officers against the citizens?
Well, David, I see that as a two-way street, and let me tell you why. And I've got a brochure that I brought today. This is I was at the police memorial last night. 59 police officers that lost their life. Many of them that lost their life due to the hands of a criminal with a gun in their hand. Chief Fletcher, I went to the graduation on Tuesday, the police academy graduation. Chief Fletcher said his number one goal, his number one command for those cadets were to return home safely to their loved ones. And when I look at this, I look at it as a two-way street. I've never looked down the end of a barrel being pointed at me. I'm sure that's an intense situation. I know that our police officers receive intensive training, critical intensive training to deal with many times, and it's mental issues that a person is having whenever they're involved in this type of situation. So it's a very volatile situation. So what I would say is that's a two-way street. I'm not saying it's something that we don't need to look at, but it's something that I don't hear the people clamoring for right now.
Chief Henderson, City Council member, thank you for joining my listener me here at Nooga Radio.
Thank you, sir. It's been my pleasure to be here today.
Chief Henderson runs Henderson Construction and building upper-end homes and commercial jobs. He's on the City Council and has been there 4 years. And we've been talking about Airbnb and police reform here in Chattanooga. Thank you for giving us a minute of your time. And now, some important announcements.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
The deadline is approaching for the school board to pick a new superintendent of schools. The last round of interviews will be happening next week, and the selection will be made June the 15th. A man was killed when his car careened off of Amnicola Highway to the left heading towards 153. He smashed into a tree. He was pinned inside his car where he died. Firefighters had to cut him out. There were no other cars involved. The police are trying to find out how exactly this crash happened. The body of the teenager that was found at the bottom of the Sale Creek Bluff has been identified as Zachary Schaefer, a 15-year-old Soddy Daisy High School student who went running on the Cumberland Trail and wasn't seen again. 84-year-old Buster Garrison has been arrested after the police say he holed himself up inside of his house with a hostage, and a SWAT team responded along with a negotiator team. They eventually coaxed him out. He was suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and rushed to the hospital. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Expect a very mild and muggy start to your Friday. Hot again for the afternoon. An isolated shower storm, though, may pop up. Highs upper 80s. Tonight, lows only to the mid and upper 60s. For Saturday, a hot, mainly dry day. Highs up around 90 with showers and thunder showers late Saturday night through Sunday. Do you have a pesky tree that needs to be removed around your home or business? Call Paul Bunyan Tree Service at 423-421-2104. That's 421-2104. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Ward.
On Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
We have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Window Depot of Chattanooga. They're locally owned and operated and been around since 2008, installing top quality vinyl replacement windows. You get the best price and service in the area. Top quality double pane, energy efficient windows. They look great and save you money.
Oh, I love to save money.
You'll also save money on your heating and cooling costs. Call 894-0011. 894-0011. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. Sales and installation professionals. You'll get a fantastic job while helping to enhance the value, appearance, comfort, and efficiency of your most valuable asset, your home. Other window providers? No way. Window Depot Chattanooga's windows qualify for the TVA rebate. Sliding doors, gutters, soffits, fascia, garage doors, and other home improvements. If you want to save a ton, call 894-0011. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. WindowDepotChattanooga.com. Window Depot of Chattanooga. Sales and installation professionals.
And now to our reporter in the field.
We asked Ray at Ray's Plumbing what's important for homeowners to know.
Some field line systems can cost upwards of $10,000. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road. I would definitely recommend everybody with a septic that is not on county or city sewer to have an inspection done by a qualified professional. It'd be great if nobody did inspections on them for all plumbing companies. That's what we do to make a living. Not to scare anyone, but it should be in the back of your mind. The danger is the field lines failing and costing thousands upon thousands of dollars and tearing your yard up. By preventative maintenance, you're saving yourself a large headache project that may displace yourself and your family. That happens more often than you think. The waste is designed to stay in the tank, and that waste will build up over time. Even with treatment, we have to help that waste break down. Ultimately, preventative maintenance is the key that will keep you from spending $5,000 to $10,000 on replacing your septic system. The bottom line is to save yourself money down the road.
Call Ray at Ray's Plumbing, 421-6341, 421-6341.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Need a tiller to get things going for the spring? Spiff up your porch, maybe your deck? Come on by and get a pressure washer at Action Rental. Family in town, need some tables and chairs for an event? Come on by and see us, Action Rental. This is Dan at Action Rental on Lee Highway. Come by and see me. Action Rentals.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree. Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio. Now, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Tulis.
Love your neighbor, buy local. That's the slogan of the local economy guru here in town. That's me, David Tulis, the man with the bow tie, said to be the smartest man in Chattanooga with a bow tie, which means that all the other men who compete for that position on the regular tie side have you in the running. And if you tune into our program every day at 9 o'clock, you could be possibly the smartest man with a regular tie. This is David Tulis, the local economy guru, the leading Nooga centrist, according to People. Now, there's a competition for that spot. Dave Crockett, the great world traveler and the great defender of Chattanooga, seeking to bring high-speed rail bullet trains to Chattanooga. He says that he is the number one Nooga centrist, and so he and I have had a friendly tussle over that designation. But nothing I say here is trademarked, and nothing I say really is original. And I encourage you to take my slogan, love your neighbor, buy local, and pin it up in your shop. That way we can all further the local economy better, that we have 100 small business people start their operations, their hobbies come business in their living rooms and spare bedrooms and garages, than 100 people be hired by a local factory, right? We want there to be owners rather than just employees, because the employee doesn't make a profit, right? Employment is wages. You are paid as employee, as servant to the master. You're paid exactly what you're worth. There's no profit in being employed. There's money, but there's not profit. What we want to have in Chattanooga is a survivable, sustainable city, and that means that we need to have profit staying here. The profit has to be earned here and to stay here, to be reinvested here, to bring wealth, long-term capital gain to Hamilton County and Chattanooga. That is my argument, and so my part of that wonderful argument is divest national, and invest local. One of those women who have been investing locally is Lori Stevens. She runs Chattanooga School of Language that she started in 2011. We're going to hear from this former worker at La Paz. She was at La Paz working in communications and development of that Hispanic organization from 2008 to 2011. We're going to hear from her how she got started in the field of learning foreign languages and now organizing teachers to come together right here in the Hickson area to teach a variety of languages, including one foreign language that I know, that's French. Lori, welcome to the David Tulis program.
Thank you so much.
Well, tell us about yourself. You and your husband, Darren, who's Darren, with an unusual spelling, D-E-R. When he's a musician, you're 33 years old. You're in business now. You took steps to get into business, slow steps. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. You're a graduate of Red Bank High School. You went to Berry College. Mm-hmm. How did you come to be a businesswoman, an organizer, an entrepreneur, someone who's making hopefully we'll hear about your profit, but making a profit, serving the growing need, you say, for language training?
Well, I never thought I would be a business owner, to be honest. I studied journalism, communications, and Spanish in college, and really started this business out of a need for what I saw in my hometown. And so I did the market research. I figured out that, yes, there was a need. Where was that need? And then I just planted myself and made the right connections and relationships to make it happen.
Well, that's the short answer. Let's go back a little bit. You were a student in Red Bank. Now, does that mean your family lived in Red Bank, Lori?
I did not live in Red Bank, but my dad was a coach and teacher at Red Bank for years. And so it was kind of all my siblings. We all went to Red Bank, so it was kind of in our family.
Did you take Spanish in
I did take Spanish in high school. It was, of course, just something that we had to do. It never really caught my attention as much. I just kind of did it. And so when I went to college, it kind of perked my interest my sophomore year, and I was able to study abroad in Spain for a summer, and I just fell in love with the Spanish language and culture.
Well, where did you stay when you were in Spain?
So I studied at the University of Salamanca in Salamanca, Spain, and I went with a group out of Augusta, Georgia. And we did the whole, stay with a family, live there, invest in the community, and travel as well. So,
did you take classes?
We did.
Spain as well?
Yes, we took classes in the language at that university.
Is Spanish in Spain different from that from Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras?
It is in the sense that, just like with English, people speak differently in different parts of the country. Same with Spain as well. There's always a different dialect, lingo, accents. Yes, all that is.
Is Spanish higher in its presentation? Is it loftier, grander, more poetical than, say, that spoken in Mexico City?
I don't think so. Granted, I've never been to Mexico. I know a lot of people from Mexico and I've worked with them, but I don't think it's more lofty, shall you say. I think it's just different.
Well, all right. So you were during your college career, you had spent a summer in Spain, and how else did you further yourself in the language after you graduated?
So I graduated, and again, I studied journalism and communications, and after that, I came home not knowing the next step. Well, I took a detour. I traveled our country, and came back, and really, I felt that if I didn't put time and energy into learning Spanish and building that skill, then I would lose what I had. And so I just literally looked in the Google, typed in Google language schools, and Costa Rica had been something that was on my mind for years for some reason. And so I found a language school there and took off and had the best time of my life.
How long were you there?
I was there for several months, so about 4 months.
And you were in class every day reading Spanish novels and Spanish grammars?
Well, it's Spanish grammars. Well, it was such a different experience than what I had previously, like in high school, even some in college. I was immersed in the culture and the language. All the street signs were in Spanish. I stayed with a local family, and they couldn't speak English to me. So it was just a whole nother experience I'd never had before. And it took my Spanish to another level.
When you live in another country and speak a foreign language, does that somehow make you more connected to your hometown? How does that affect your spiritual condition and your connection, your bond, if you will, to the geography that we call Chattanooga and Hamilton County? Is there an effect of foreign travels on your lococentrism, if you will?
That's a really good question. I think my experience made me want to have that and give other people an opportunity to experience that too. And if they can't travel to Costa Rica, if they can't travel to Spain, then how about something in our community? And you don't have to go far to experience other languages. We have, I heard recently a statistic that there were 75 different languages represented in the Hamilton County school system. And for example, you don't have to go far to see and experience other cultures and languages in our hometown.
Well, your school, the Chattanooga School of Language, which began in 2011, has 12 parts of the human tongue expressed. For example, German, you teach English.
Mm-hmm.
What is the demand, and you'll tell us in just a minute some of the other languages, what is the demand for English lessons in Chattanooga?
There's a very big demand for English lessons. And there is a great network of community churches and nonprofit organizations, the library as well. There's a great network of free English classes as well.
Well, how do you compete with the free if you charge your students?
I think our audience is a little bit different, and that's something I had to kind of research and figure out. Ours is similar to a college course, but not, we don't give grades or anything. It's intensive. And so it's kind of marketed towards a different, maybe a different demographic or different audience.
You're saying that a church group that teaches English, let's say, or teaches Spanish may have a more leisurely pace. It sounds like you're a little bit more militant on the schedule. There's more done, there's more required, the time frame is shorter.
Well,
right?
I think they're different schedules. So there's like I said, a large network of organizations that invest a lot in teaching English and provide a wonderful service. Ours is can be more intensive, and more professional classroom setting. So as opposed to like community organizations.
This is David Tulis. I do thank you for giving us just a couple minutes of your time here at AM 1240 and FM 92.7 Nooga Radio. That is Nooga Radio, the Nooga-centric multimedia platform. This show brought to you by Nooganomics.com. And Lori Stevens is the founder of Chattanooga School of Language. And there's a long list of languages that your staff teach. Tell us just briefly what they are, and maybe something distinct about maybe one or two of the teachers that you've rounded up.
Sure. So our languages, you mean list the languages?
Go ahead.
Okay. We've got German, French, Spanish, English as a second language, Brazilian Portuguese, Mandarin, Japanese, American Sign Language. We have Russian, Danish. I know I'm forgetting some.
You mentioned Italian.
Italian.
What about people who want to go to Saudi Arabia? What about that?
We have Arabic as well. Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, when I thought about your business, I thought, well, this sounds like a line of work that doesn't require a lot of capital. You don't have to buy equipment. You don't have to buy software. Did you have to go to a bank to get a loan for $50,000 or $100,000, Lori Stevens, to start your business, or did you grow and start by some other method?
I think I did it maybe a little differently. I did not invest in a lot of capital at first. I kind of grew the business slowly. I actually had a full-time job in addition to growing the business up until about a year ago. And then we got to a place where I realized I couldn't grow the business unless I jumped in full time. Unless I was full time. Yeah.
Well, now you were at La Paz, the pro-Hispanic organization here in Chattanooga that from 2008 to 11 in communications and development.
Mm-hmm.
Did you tell me where you were after that, or what job you had here before you quit to continue this school?
So I was at La Paz for about 3.5 years. I was doing development and communications, and in 2011 I started the language school and transitioned and to a job that let me focus on the communications side of my skills and what I love to do. And so I spent time at Siskin Children's Institute and was in their marketing department. And then was there for about 2 years and went to smart furniture and did some customer service and communications work there. And then even served in some restaurants around town, just trying to make ends meet. And eventually I jumped in full time in the language school. So I'm doing that full time now.
Now, do you teach as well, Lori Stevens,
do.
or are you just administrator?
No, I do. I teach as well. Yeah.
And tell us about your class, your current class.
So I teach children and adults Spanish. And in our language classes, you're not going to just sit there and recite or, copy notes off the board. This is a very interactive method, and something that the language school is, our teachers are getting training in this type of method too. It's called comprehensible input, and it's a more interactive method, and it focuses on language acquisition as opposed to language learning. And language acquisition is actually more of a subconscious process of absorbing the language, acquiring the language through reading and listening and having that input. And then when you're ready, when you have something to talk about, then you'll be ready to produce and speak.
Is that a method that's behavioral in orientation as opposed to academic?
I guess, what do you mean?
Well, when I was the teacher at Berlitz School of Languages in Lausanne, where I lived, I taught English to the daughters of diplomats and wealthy Swiss widows. And the Berlitz method is all, there's nothing written. It's almost all oral presentation, Q&A, and you slowly build vocabulary and familiarity. And there's not an intellectual or academic appeal. It's all by practice. And one could say by behavior, the behavior of speech. Is there book work in your method, in the method of Chattanooga School of Language, or is it all oral and custom?
We do customize classes for sure. And that's the beauty of having, for instance, private lessons or semi-private and small classrooms, small classes, so that we can customize those to meet the needs of the students and schedules. And this method of teaching is not black and white. I mean, it's not like there's flexibility in there, and to make it appealing to the student, because I mean, we're all going to learn better when we care about what we're learning and we care when it's interesting to us. And so a lot of it, you say academic, you can't learn a language without knowing and understanding the grammar. And so that comes though with reading. And these are some books that
I'm holding up a Russian workbook here.
It's a little novel. It's a small novel that beginner students can read in a short amount of time, because of our emphasis on high frequency words and vocabulary and sentence structures that we put in fun novels. And these are some terrific authors.
Do all the teachers agree when they come to work with you, Lori, that they will use this method? Because people come, some 45-year-old former academician who's now working in the tech field is here at Chattanooga, and you engage this person to teach a language. Does he have to learn the whole system, or does he simply use what he knows?
A little bit,
more or less.
A little bit of both, because again, this is something that the language school, we are moving in this direction to acquire more of this method, and it's based on research, and so it works. But again, we have the customization of being able to work with a student, say they're in logistics and they want to be able to communicate with, people in facilities in other parts of the world. So we apply these methods of teaching in the classroom in ways that is relevant to our students.
Why is demand for language increasing in the Chattanooga area?
It's increasing in Chattanooga area also, around our world. It's such a global society. We're connected more than we ever have been, I feel like. And in 1 minute, you can talk to somebody from across the world. You can see them. And so I think people are realizing the importance of language learning, because for many reasons. We've gotten, seen the arrival of international businesses. They've chosen Chattanooga to come and invest their business here. And so with that, we've got a lot of international folks coming in. I also think that we're growing as a community with, accepting more and more different kinds of people. They're coming to Chattanooga. And again, I think too, if you're really going to be competitive in the global marketplace and the global community, you have to be aware of other languages and cultures.
Are software systems, Lori Stevens of Chattanooga School of Language, so good or becoming so good that they will obviate the need to learn a language? You just talk into the box and it comes out in another language. How good are those services from what you've gathered?
Well, I'm not an expert on those services, but and there's some great resources out there for sure. I think it's pretty irreplaceable, though, to have a personal instructor. That's how I learn best. And I feel like I'm not alone in that. It's not just that language. It's also being culturally aware of that person and their community.
So learning a language is not just emitting a stream of words in another tongue. It is becoming, it's absorbing in some way the way of life, the way of thought, the thought patterns of another culture.
Exactly.
Because when you know a language well enough to think in that language, it changes your patterns remarkably. Yeah. It changes. In fact, speaking another language changes my listener's manner of his hand motions, his expressions change with the language in an odd way. I would like to suggest.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, how can my listener find out more about Chattanooga School of Language?
So we have some great programs coming up that I'm super excited about. We have some summer language adventure camps, and we have we're launching a homeschool language program in the fall. It'll be a full year program. And we also have tutoring this summer for students who may want a little bit, a little boost during the summer to keep up their language skills. And then we're starting a group term of classes for adults in the evenings. That'll start June 26th. But all this information is on our website at ChattanoogaLanguage.com. Again, www.chattanoogalanguage.com, or you can email me at info@chattanoogalanguage.com.
All right, so it's ChattanoogaLanguage.com. ChattanoogaLanguage.com. That's the website. And Lori, thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lori Stevens owns and operates Chattanooga School of Language. It began in 2011. She's been a longtime lover of the Spanish tongue, and has lived overseas and had many experiences in Costa Rica and Spain, and now wants to have, and she's gathered around her 12 professors, 12 instructors of language. They're all trying to use her method, and that method is called Comprehensive Input Method. This is David Tulis. We argue for near over far, over small over big, for simple over complex. And also at Nooganomics.com, we argue for personal over corporate and physical over abstract. This is David Tulis, the editor of Nooganomics.com, the website for Man Who Matters. Not popular website. Why not? Well, that's because very few people matter. A lot of people are there, but a few matter, and those who do know that we have something special to offer at Nooganomics.com and here at Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and FM 92.7. Now, I've got some important messages for you to hear. Thanks a lot.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I've got a $10 bill for you at the best paint store in Chattanooga. David here. Hi. Big savings right now on paint and stains. Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Ring up a can and keep that $10 bill. Save on select paints and stains at Chattanooga Paint and Decorating. More than a paint store. Pittsburgh, Porter, Glidden, Prolux, Olympic, Flood. $10 a can. Savings this week. Jim and his team are here to help and advise, and to help you hold on to your money. 5529 Hickson Pike, Chattanooga Paint and Decorating, ChattanoogaPaint.com.
When my brother and I opened our first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge mountain of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
I've been a customer at SNS 14 years. It's way out of my way, but I'm well treated. I believe what I'm told. Price is reasonable. David Tulis here. Make an SNS appointment today. This week, get $50 off any 30,000-mile service or timing belt repair. And get a free combat knife as a gift. SNS Auto Repair specializes in Toyota, Lexus, Honda, Acura, Scion, Nissan, and Infiniti. 6-time winner of Best of the Best Award in the Times Free Press. 855-3436. ssautorepair.net. 855-3436. What kind of name is Herb Garanzi? Anyway, Herb builds storage sheds. He's an Apison. You can call it. His sheds are cheaper than other people's. And the surprise is, when you go and look at them online or in person, they're sturdier than the other guys. Local economy at its best. Not shipped in from a factory in Minnesota or somewhere. Herb delivers. He'll set it up for free, up to 12 by 24, starting at $900. Blue, green, yellow, you name it. Pick a metal or shingle roof, and metal corners are standard. Make a Herb's Yard Barn bump resistant. The skids underneath, not 4x4, but 4x6, 6x6. On top of that, inside, extra beams for sturdier construction. Apison 503-3741. Apison 503-3741. On the keyboard, herbsyardbarns.com. herbsyardbarns.com. Your marriage is over. You've been abandoned, betrayed. You're angry, shattered, and heartbroken. Don't go it alone. When you are facing divorce, you need an experienced advocate to help protect your rights in future. And you need it from a man with a sympathetic heart, but a hard nose. Attorney Clay Whitaker will fight for you in this most confusing and bitter time in your life. Clay Whitaker, 756-6400.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chops him off. Coming off turn number 2. Goes to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Here at Live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR. WBLZ HD4 Ottawa. W224AZ Chattanooga. WSDT Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
CBS News. I'm Steve Cave, and disgraced former Congressman Anthony Weiner is in a federal courtroom to plead guilty to charges in a sexting case. We're live with CBS's Gary Nunn.
Steve, the expected guilty plea follows an investigation in which Weiner exchanged lewd texts and photos with a 15-year-old girl. Weiner, already in federal custody, could face up to 10 years in prison. Also, he could be ordered to register as a sex offender. A series of previous sexting scandals led to his resignation from Congress nearly 6 years ago. At the time, admitting,
I've exchanged messages and photos of an explicit nature with about 6 women over the last 3 years.
Weiner's behavior continued, causing him to drop out of the New York City mayoral race in 2013.
Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein has debriefed members of the House on Russia and the James Comey firing. We're live in Washington with CBS's Bill Rakoff.
Republican Darrell Issa of California